Hey guys, welcome to the Wild Bits Show. I am Upamanyu,
And I'm Meghna.
and we have got a great show planned for you. Today's headline topic is all about AI and the unbelievable amount of pollution and a threat to climate that it is. We'll, of course, talk about that. We also are going to be talking about conserving India's fishing cats beyond the protected areas in the fringes of the national parks and such. We have some more topics, Meghna.
Yes, we will also be talking about how an Amazon entrepreneur is spreading seeds of growth with recycled paper. Apart from this, we're also going to be talking about how the super-sized fleet of squid catchers are plundering the high seas. And we would be talking about new species and any other topic that we'll be able to cover given the time.
Mm. All right. Why don't we jump straight into the headline topic for this week? This week we are talking all about AI and the climate threat that it poses. This is um, a report from The Guardian, which says just an unbelievable amount of pollution. How big a threat AI is to the climate. The rapid growth of artificial intelligence is raising concerns about its significant environmental impact. A recent investigation revealed Elon Musk's XAI data center in Memphis emits substantial planet heating gases, potentially exceeding a large power plant's output, while lacking pollution controls. This energy intensive process, fueled by gas turbines, powers AI like Musk's chatbot Grok, which has demonstrated problematic outputs, including promoting conspiracy theories and harmful ideologies. Experts worry about the spiraling energy and water demands of AI, questioning the value of outputs like AI generated images, particularly when produced using fossil fuels. Despite claims that AI can help combat climate change, the current trajectory points to a substantial and largely unmeasured environmental cost. Um, Anyone who knows data centers and how they're run and how much energy goes into running a data center, the needs for an AI data center is just tenfold of a normal data center running, a website, for example. YouTube, let's say, um, running from a data center, but that is peanuts compared to the energy water requirements of an AI data center. Just because it requires so much computing power, so much compute power, so much GPU time, just to generate answers to one query that you simply enter, maybe in ChatGPT or Grok's XAI's Groks or something like that. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, I think this is where it gets a little tricky because I think how they say that AI can combat climate change. I think we covered a few topics about it, how in real time the drones that are working and sending back satellite data for sharks, or even what do you say, the AI tracking with the elephant crossings in India. So there are places where AI is helping, but the data centers and the amount of energy that it would require to run these things is something that people don't take into consideration. And this was the same thing that was happening, I think, even with cryptocurrency. When people were saying cryptocurrency would become the normal currency, it's not possible because, like regular currency and how it works doesn't take up as much energy and as much. fossil fuel consumption as running these servers do.
Yeah, no, but also I think worth mentioning there, the ubiquitous nature of AI can no longer be compared to anything else that has ever existed. Like every person out there is using the large language models. And when someone says AI, the immediate reaction, or what people understand, or what comes to people's heads is large language models. That is only a slice of AI, or it's one kind of AI, which is not very useful in all the other um, you know applications that Meghna just mentioned. It's only a small slice of the pie, but that slice, because it's used by so many people around the world, um, you know, simultaneously and without any sort of bar, it just means that to serve those requests from that many number of people, um, the requirement on a data center is just, yeah, unimaginable, as the unbelievable, as the article says. um, that's the problem, that this new, because AI has been used in computers and computer, like, programmers and developers have been using AI for such a long time. This new age of AI is all fueled by the large language models, which is making people's lives not easier, but I don't know what the right word is, but it is making people's lives somewhat, um, you know, uh, yeah, they don't have to do the work basically. Somewhat,
So I mean that's everything, right? Like how we've spoken about, let's say, even plastic, or let's say these 10-minute deliveries that we do have, or anything like that is to make lives easier. Anything and everything we do, and this is something that you've said earlier, that humans do anything and everything to make their lives easier. It doesn't matter the cost at which it comes.
yeah, no,
Every
true.
day, and yeah, because we prioritize ourselves and we prioritize our convenience over everything else. So if there's something that we don't have to step outside home for, or there's something that can do other things for us, we would want to do that. Obviously, I think the way AI was envisioned was that you would have a AI powered robot which would take your commands and do everything for you at home. But it's the opposite right now. AI is doing all the thinking while you're doing all the manual labor. So I think the vision was different, but at the same time, it's still a lot of things that people are depending on now. If people want to write an email, they would go to AI. If people want to think about something, they would go to AI. Like yesterday night we were talking about something where there was a party with some theme to dress up. So a friend was mentioning how she just put in the prompt in AI saying that, oh, I have these clothes, and the person I'm going with has these clothes. What can we go as if this is the theme? And then AI threw a few ideas at her, and then she actually chose one of the ideas. So it is something where people don't want to spend that amount of time, like sitting down and thinking and being like, oh, what do I do with this? So it's at like a click, like you just write something and oh,
Yeah,
everything's there.
that's the thing I have the problem with. Like large language models, I think the large language models part of the AI can be, I mean, the pundits are saying that it's a bubble, and I'll be very happy if it's a bubble. Because like like you said, plastic, you know, human mortality rates can be directly, like the decrease in human mortality rates can be directly attributed to plastic and the use of plastic in the medical sphere. But large language models, nothing. Like, I'm not saying AI, because AI is a big umbrella where large language models is a small part of that AI, but is using a humongous amount of energy. I don't think large language models is adding anything to a positive to our lives yet.
Yeah,
And there is nothing it can add, like, because it's just reading up all the material that is available to us and regurgitating it based on whatever the user is asking. That's all it is doing.
True, and I think people use a lot of it to also like generate memes when the AI answers
Yeah,
incorrectly or answers
a
something
lot of
funny.
slop. A
So
lot of
it's also,
slop.
I think it's just a way to pass time. Like, you know how when Siri and Alexa and all came out, like people would really be like, "Hey Siri" or "Hey Alexa, tell me this" or "Do this for me." So it's like one of those new toys, but just more things that you can do. Instead of just asking basic things, you can ask more complex things with this
Hmm.
kind of model. But I think the problem where it comes is that it can be only used for things that it was relevant for. Same like plastic, like how you're saying, if it was used for things it was relevant for, it would have been great. If it was, like it's helping people with, let's say, medical, yes, okay, just medical things and just medical waste sorted out, done. But no, it came into markets, like, they started wrapping apples in it, and everything is plastic and everywhere. So that's the same thing that's happening with AI. Like, it's not required, but it makes life easier, so why not? So it stays there. So something like, and if it comes and stays there, then it's there to stay, like in the sense that now it's been rolled to the public. I doubt there'll be a time that it can be rolled back. Like, it's there, it's going to stay.
Yeah, I don't know about, like, I don't know if that could would be or would not be, like, whether it would be rolled back or not. It would stay in some form. That I do think it would stay in some form, but whether it is this much, because the current energy usage is, yeah,
No,
it's
I
just
understand that
beyond the charts.
energy usage is the energy usage is definitely preposterous. But what I'm saying is that, if, like, how people are getting dependent on it. Okay, so once
Hmm.
you get dependent on something, like, let's say, plastic, you're dependent on it, it's very hard to roll back. So there was a time that, there were these milk people, even in rural areas it still happens, where they bring milk in cans and then they pour it into your um, utensil, and then you pasteurize the milk by, sorry, you boil the milk, and then you use it, or however, even though it's pasteurized, that is how it used to work in India. But now everyone goes for a Tetra Pak or a packet milk because it's easier. You don't have to go through the entire process of, oh, you storing it, you cleaning it, someone bringing it in a big thing. You just like order it online from some kind of app. So people have shifted, and they've shifted to this amount that they would not go back to that way of acquiring milk. Is just an example.
No,
But
that's
it's the
that's
yeah. So it's similar with AI. What's happening is that now people send AI what do you say, a prompt saying that, oh, can you please help me phrase this email, and then AI gives the email, and you do this one day, and then the second day also you see like, oh wow, I don't even have to think about what I have to write, and then it just becomes a part of your life. So it's going to be really hard to roll back, even though the challenges are preposterous. Everyone knows. So even with everything that humans do, which has a negative effect, it is there in your face. But we do not know that once if it is integrated into your lives, how do we like roll back from it?
yeah. And also the problem is we don't exactly know how much energy each of these, like drafting emails or writing essays or planning holidays, these kinds of prompts are, can be attributed to. So AI companies are very resistant to releasing that kind of data because they know that that can put them into more of a media spotlight. This article says that guesstimates hover about zero point 0.2 to 3 watt hours for a simple text query and rise considerably for deep research and video production. So that is a significant amount of energy that is used for a single query. Now, there can also be another future where, because the climate impacts are so high, and because these companies won't be able to stay hidden and hide their face and save their face forever, there might be another future where the innovation in terms of computing and how the computer, how it processes data or how it processes these things, computers being made more energy efficient, at the same time it being more productive. That kind of innovation can also happen, and that is also a possible future, if this is something that is there to stay. um,
Yeah,
Now
I
whether it
think
is in time, for it to cause some serious unreversible damage, which it already has, I think. But whether it is in time, that remains to be seen.
true. I think what you were saying is exactly what has been written in the article. It says that there are modeling scenarios in which AI would help to integrate solar and wind into the electricity grid, identify
Mm.
alternative proteins that mimic meat, improve battery composition in electric cars, and nudge people to make climate friendly choices. If all of this would be done, it might be a way where AI can actually pay off its energy debts by saving carbon in other parts of the economy. So this is a way that AI could be used for the good. But then I don't know if AI would be able to consistently and be able to keep pushing people to make like better choices. But also the other things that is done, we do not know how fast it will happen. But also tell me the soaps like I feel like even if you tell people the amount of water that is used for your query, will that actually put people off? Because like when you tell
No,
people about when you tell people about the effects of say meat or plastic or anything else, it really doesn't put or deter people off from using anything or doing anything.
I was reading this article which had this beautiful quote. Someone was writing this article in first person, and this person was saying, um, a friend of mine who has worked in climate advocacy for decades calls the idea that you can just tell people the facts and their behavior will change the lie of the 1990s. Talk of ecological apocalypse when global capitalism has alienated most of us from almost any sense of social belonging and collective power, is more likely to deepen the importance rather than to enliven agency. So I think it is exactly right that the arguments won't get through to people. So my approach always is when talking to people is that, why are you not doing it yourself? Why are you asking AI to do it? Because until about 5 months ago, you were the one who was doing it. Why are you not confident to do it now? And also, in the work environments, I highly discourage the use of generative AI, like large language models. There is different kinds of AI which most people don't get. Coding and development AI has been used for such a long time. Um, Meghna mentioned protein folding and climate. That is a different kind of AI. This generative model, that is personally I have a problem with, but I can see why people are using it. I encourage them not to use it and just use the analytical brain and thinking power, because yeah, we have the tools to do it. It's not that our tools are gone in one moment since the advent of AI. So I encourage to do that, because this debate, yeah, it is, yeah, very shock and awe kind of things, and some people might turn based on this debate, or their resolve might get stronger, as is with me, to not use AI. But yeah, most people it would be futile.
But I think also, oops, it's one of those things like when smartphones came along, then
Mm,
you just got really dependent on it. When we were younger, we remembered every number, every phone number, like whatever phone numbers that we even used to dial. We just knew, so if you had to call from somewhere else, you had everybody's number up here. But with the advent of smartphones, just because you just did not require to remember anybody's number, you had it in your hand, it was always there. You just forgot, you just did not even put that part of your brain into use anymore, and that is what AI is also doing. So like let's
Memory
say
is very
from
different than analytics and analytical thinking.
No, but it's just the same thing. Like if something is making life easier, you stop using that portion of your life to actually do that. So there was effort in memorizing something. There was effort, let's say, in writing an email. There was effort in generating some kind of image. So now people are like, oh, I don't want to put that effort if someone else or some system is ready to put that effort in.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with AI versus any other technology is that AI is general. This is a general purpose AI. So it can do anything and everything that you ask them to do. Smartphone can't do, write you an essay, or, correct your paper, thesis paper, or make an essay, or create an image, or anything like that. It has very specific tasks, and that is what this has no specific task given to it. Anything you throw at him, it would try. It would fail horribly in most cases, but it would try to please you and make an effort, and try to give you some garbage, at
Exactly,
least.
but that is helping people out. Like, so what you're saying is, let's say there wasn't people might have been relying on other people earlier to do like a check of their thesis paper or run through their thesis paper.
I
Now they just
mean,
run it through
there are 8
AI.
billion people in the world. If people stop depending on other people, then everyone will be like, you know, the world hunger and all the problems in the world will just I amplify 12-fold.
But we already know with the advent of social media that even though if you have 500 or 1,000 friends on social media, you might not even have a single friend in real life. So that separation or detachment happened or has been happening for a long time. So AI might be adding to it, but it's not something that is new. So that thing has already existed because we have integrated technology into our lives to that extent. And I think because we've integrated lives, AI or technology into our lives to that extent. You remember even when Siri and Alexa and all came out, it was a way for people to like kind of battle loneliness, that oh, I have someone to talk to, like when they say hey Siri or hey Alexa. And AI I think has amplified it because it's given
Mm.
people like a companion, like that you can just go to and fro with and just talk and be like, oh hey, can you solve this for me? But if you can't, then can I do this?
No, AI boyfriends and girlfriends is a thing.
The just talking online, or a model like a physical
Like a
model?
model, like
Like,
not a physical model, but talking online.
okay,
Um,
so not a
yeah,
physical model. Okay.
not a physical model yet, but talking online, speaking to them, voice, because there's voice and such as well. Yeah,
So
there's a whole
imagine.
subculture of that
Yeah, so
thing.
imagine there are 8 billion people and people are still going for AI boyfriends and girlfriends. So even though I mean, our population is at an all time high, somehow loneliness is also at an all time high. Mental health issues are at an all time high. So everything kind of correlates. And then because everything is high and you don't have people, you would, kind of always go towards these kind of things.
I believe so. I only hope that my only hope is that the government around the world come into the picture somehow, because the energy costs and the energy discounts can't continue forever. Right now, a lot of governments are incentivizing these companies to come and invest in their country, because AI is the next big thing. There's a lot of money to be made in AI, but the problem there is that it is a losing battle for investors. That's my only hope, like, because investors won't get anything out of this investment, because the amount of energy and power and all these things required, minus all the discounts that are currently being provided, and not even the discounts, even with the discounts, it is a losing battle. It is a very um, deficit trade. So as soon as people start realizing, more and more investors start realizing that, they will run for the hills. So that is my one hope, and the other hope is, of course, government comes into the picture somehow to regulate this whole thing in some shape, shapes and forms, put some structure into this whole thing. Yeah, those two hopes kind of I look at them and say, okay, maybe this bubble could burst, because if the money is gone, then yeah, there's no way this can continue, because this is such a big operation.
It is,
So
but
yeah,
do you think the way AI is going that people would actually want to back off from it, like even as an
like
investor?
if there is, yeah, I mean, because there is no return on investment. How long would you just keep pouring money without any return? You know?
I think maybe see, I think the way to go for it is like you make people dependent on it and then you make their subscriptions more expensive. So then people would want
I
that
mean,
subscription.
companies are already doing that. Companies are already doing that, making subscriptions expensive. But there is always a free tier that is available to people.
That will always
Um,
be available, but the free tier is something that would make most people cry unless you are, what would you say? You're a millennial or older because you have the patience to actually deal with something that is slow and not responsive.
mm,
So the younger generation might actually be more impatient because they don't like to, actually wait because they've always grown up in that generation where everything is faster, online at least. Um, it's only them that they would cater to. So the free tire, if people do not use AI a lot, the free tire is okay. But if you are dependent, you would be willing to pay that amount. You would see that if it is worth paying that amount for the kind of convenience you get at the end of the year
yeah,
or the
that
day.
that remains to be seen if people are willing to pay that, because I think a lot of AI, the free tier is pretty good. I don't pay for any kind of AI, so because I don't use it. But in like the coding space, I do use it. Do use AI, helping some coding stuff. I do a bit of that in my spare times as well. So, and that has been used for at least 15 years now. So developers have been using it for such a long time. That kind of AI, but this generative kind of AI, I don't know. My hope is that the investment dries, the funding dries out. Uh, if not that, then the government steps in some way. But remains to be seen where the end of this is, or again, a
Or
good case scenario is, as you were saying, like the compute is optimized, the energy is optimized, the AI basically revolutionizes the renewable energy industry,
and other
and yeah,
industries, yeah, like the
and other
mimic.
industries.
Yeah, like the mimic protein and all. Or if AI somehow makes energy usage efficient across the panel, so somehow
Mm,
what AI is using, apart from other things, there's some kind of way that AI is finding the loopholes where like energy is not being used efficiently and then bridges that. I don't know, but I just feel like um, AI is here to stay. As much as we would not want that kind of convenience, it's not something that even I would. I mean, I personally feel like AI is something that is very detaching because I think AI is also being used in all these, chatbots. Now you try to reach out to any kind of customer service, and the first thing that happens is an AI chatbot is there,
mm,
and that AI chatbot has a way of responding, and you realize that it is an AI chatbot and it's not a human. So it is frustrating as well that AI is the first thing that you have to encounter everywhere. But I feel like it's there to stay. There has to be some way that, how you're saying, either it's regulated or some way that AI finds a way to balance its energy consumption with the kind of help it does. But
mm,
generative AI is useless. And did you see that? I don't know if you saw. So there's this one podcast in India that's very famous. It's this guy called Raj Shamani, and he was doing a podcast with Zomato's founder. And Zomato is this food delivery app, which is really, really big. It's like a food aggregator, and all the restaurants are listed on it, something like Uber Eats. And
mm,
he was saying, the founder was saying that people have been using AI to generate images with like food, like hair in their food, or
Mm.
something else in their food, or like a creature or something, and they're doing it so that they can get like refunds. So they're using AI to make these fake images, then upload them and get the refund. So what they're trying to do now is, to work around it, is come up with some kind of karma score to see if you've done it like multiple times, then they don't give you the refund. But if you've just done it the first time, in the sense that it could be genuine because you've not done it earlier. So AI is getting to that level that you do not know what is real and what is fake anymore.
Yeah, true, true. That's I think the parting note for this topic. Again, the energy usage is unbelievably big. The water usage is unbelievably big. But if AI is here to stay, let's see if it can help in some other ways. Um, that's all we had to say about that topic. Um, let's move
I,
on to the next one.
yeah, I think actually we would have had a lot more to say, but oops is like, okay, I think we need to switch to another topic. Otherwise, we'd keep talking about one topic.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think I have said pretty much what I wanted to say. Yeah, because again, as I said, like giving people or anyone really the science backed arguments is just it's a downward slope. You'll never get through to people that way. So
That
yeah.
is always true. That is always
Mhm.
true. Okay. So going to the next topic, we will be talking about something that's a little, let's say, happier and not so doom and gloom. Um,
Mm.
an Amazon entrepreneur has been spreading seeds of growth with recycled paper. In Altamira, Brazil, Alessandra Moreira founded EcoPlant, a business creating seed embedded paper from recycled materials. Driven by personal struggles with anxiety and burnout, Moreira transformed a brother's suggestion into a sustainable venture. EcoPlant's paper, infused with seeds for flowers, herbs, and native Amazonian plants, offers a unique blend of creativity and environmental responsibility. Located in Brazil's most deforested municipality, EcoPlant exemplifies a bioeconomic future for the Amazon, prioritizing innovation and conservation. The initiative demonstrates how entrepreneurship can thrive alongside ecological preservation, countering the region's history of deforestation and conflict. EcoPlant is a growing example of sustainable business practices. Um,
Mm.
and our discussion question is, how can small businesses like EcoPlant drive sustainable economic change in vulnerable ecosystems? Um, and I think the way that it's been phrased, we need more things like that, because how we were talking about AI, that people want convenience. So in this
Mm.
way, you actually can use the paper, but also you can throw away the paper without thinking so much about where or why or how. So the disposal becomes easier, and the disposal also makes you feel good. Like, so when you do something good for the environment, you do something good for the planet, you do something good for another human, there's always this feel good feeling that you're really proud of. So I think this is something that it also drives. Like, let's say you use EcoPlant's paper and then you throw it away somewhere, and then you're like, oh, maybe like new seeds and new flowers and new plants will come out from there.
Yeah, I think this is a really good example of human ingenuity, and I am very um, thrilled to hear this piece of news as well, just because the amount of dedication that goes into developing something like this, and the amount of thinking and thought process that goes into developing something like this, it just shows that we are not, as much as AI is causing um, this dumbification of the planet. I think the human ingenuity is still there, so that gives me a lot of hope as well. And I think small businesses like EcoPlant can drive that success and drive that economic change. Such a unique idea. Having seeds embedded into paper. A lot of paper goes to waste. Why not embed them with seeds? They're like little Trojan horses. Nobody knows that they're there, but if you throw paper anywhere, even in a dumping ground, there are like thousands of trees growing up. Like a Trojan horse, like invading that space, which is so cool.
That is true. And I think this is with paper, but there have been other ways. So there is one festival in India, Ganesh Chaturthi, which idolizes this god, the elephant god. So half
Mm,
elephant, half human. And every year when you have Ganesh Chaturthi at home, you bring an idol home, and then the process is that you have to like kind of take the god and then put him into some body of water. And
mm,
that is how you bid goodbye to the god. So it could be a 1 day, 3 day, 5 day, 7 day, 11 day procession. But now what is happening, because everybody has to kind of bid goodbye and you dissolve the god into some body of water, they've come with plantable um, models, so
mm.
plantable statues. So what you can do is you can just put that god onto soil and then keep watering the god till like the whatever sand or the clay
The
it's made
material
from,
dissolves.
yeah, the material dissolves and then you have the seeds and then like new plants would come up. So that is also really novel that way, that because that festival is so big in India and so many people celebrate it. At least this is one way to
Mm,
avoid waste, and another way that you can actually get a plant at the end of it. um
yeah,
so that
yeah.
that so these kind of initiatives are great.
I think they're great. My The concern, on the other hand, I would have is if random plants starts growing at random places, then that might be also might be a problem, like unplanned plantations. In like especially like cities, there might be too much of a crowding or fight for resources where other plants might get affected as well, because obviously the resources are limited in city environments. It's not like a forest that there's natural competition, and the fittest survives. So I don't know how what the answer to that is or how to tackle that problem, but I feel like that could be a potential problem of this kind of an approach.
But I think in this case, especially, it's been mentioned that there are native seeds and native plants that have been embedded. So the seeds,
Mm,
and it's one of the most deforested municipality. So the research must have gone into what kind of trees have actually been deforested there, like what have been
right.
removed, and it must have been similar seeds that have been embedded to promote. And I think the whole vision of the company must also be that people use, and this paper also comes already from recycle, so the paper itself is recycled, so it's
Yeah,
coming
that is
from
that
waste.
is the beauty of that.
Yeah, it's coming from waste and then it'll go back to waste, but this time it will also bring hope along with it, so it might also bring a lot of trees with it. I'm quickly sharing my screen once just to show the paper. So this, I think it's actually, yeah. So this is some of the sprouts that can grow from the seeds. Some of the different kind of plants that can grow from whatever seeds, and this is where they've tried. This is the paper. This is how it looks. These are all like the different kinds of papers. So it looks great. Like the paper looks great,
Hmm.
but you can see that it's a little rough. So the seeds are inside the paper.
Hmm. Hmm. And I think handmade and artisanal paper has been very ubiquitous in certain communities as well, like artists and people like calligraphers and those kinds of people often prefer like artisanal paper, which is very rough and not very plain and smooth. Um, but yeah, no, this is great. This is great initiative. I just feel so hopeful looking at something like that, and
Yeah, and I think this should be the norm everywhere. I do not know because it's not really promoted as such. So I feel like maybe things like this or startups like this do not get the appropriate kind of funding, so that drives up
Mm,
prices. So if there's like proper investment into this, there would be more scaling. So I think the investors that actually invest into startups have to start investing into these kind of startups that are more climate
yeah.
friendly, and then this would actually then it would become the norm to have these kind of paper or other kind of things that can be integrated into our general lives and be a normal everyday usage kind of paper.
Yeah, I feel like the all the people that are investing in AI, please don't invest in AI and invest in these kinds of startups. Which can really which shows, y- the incentive or the I guess motivation is there, still there inside, um behind all the social media and all the slop that is the internet is serving. The intention is still there, of humans to do something very good for our planet Earth. So yeah, might be a good idea to invest in these kinds of startups. And um yeah. mm,
Yeah. Plus, I think it would be great if more and more people came up with such ingenious solutions, because this
mm,
is the need of the hour. We need something like so. So this is how startups also work. They find a gap in the system somewhere, and that is where they originate from. So in this case, Moreira found a gap that the municipality was one of the most deforested ones in the Amazon, that she needed to do something. So how was it that she could also make a living but also make sure that the environment was thriving? So this is where we need to go forward with, like, more climate and environment driven startups.
mm, mm.
Yeah.
That is so cool. We will try and get Alessandra on the show if we can. We've already sent out an email to her, and yeah, if she agrees to come on, um, then it would be good to hear from directly from her motivation and the process she went through. So yeah, give us a follow and give us a subscribe, so that you know when we are planning that episode. And yeah, you'll be there to listen to it again. Um,
Yep.
but anyway, this
Yeah.
is this is such a good, um, yeah, such a good thing overall. Very, 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 very happy to hear this piece of news.
Yeah. um and yes, it would be great to hear from her how she came up with the idea, and hopefully it would inspire others to do the same.
Uh,
But I think this is how much we go ahead with this topic, because we covered everything we had to talk about: paper
mm,
and seeds.
yeah, yeah. Um, cool. Let's do another one. This is a report from a publication called Down to Earth. It's titled "Conserving India's Fishing Cats Beyond Protected Areas." A fishing cat was mistakenly identified as a leopard cub and trapped by villagers in Uttar Pradesh's Terai region, highlighting the challenges facing this vulnerable species. Fueled by fear and the cat's spotted coat, attempted to feed it sugarcane before the forest department intervened and safely released it. Such misidentifications are common, as fishing cats inhabit agricultural areas and often go unnoticed until they trigger panic. Despite being protected under Indian law and listed as vulnerable, the species receives a limited conservation attention outside protected areas. Adapted to aquatic life, fishing cats thrive in wetlands and canals, demonstrating remarkable adaptability to human dominated landscapes, yet remain largely invisible in conservation planning. This is one of those species that it's a very small domestic cat sized species, maybe a little bigger than domestic cat. And it's a beautiful, beautiful species. I'm trying to find a good image. It's not the image that's there on the article. It's not very good, but it's a beautiful uh, cat species, and being a smaller species, I think, and also very nocturnal and very elusive, it doesn't get mentioned as often. But I also think that our village is supposed to be more in tune and connected with nature than people living in urban areas, like rural people. Aren't they supposed to be more connected to nature or something?
They
How did
are,
they mistake this for like a leopard baby?
because I think what happens is most cats are active at night, and rural spaces don't really rely on a lot of night light in the night. They would have their small
Hmm.
lanterns, or they don't even have like street lights and other things. I mean, you remember even when we went to see the fishing cat. So,
Hmm.
um, like remote areas or rural areas wouldn't. So it's very hard. I think maybe when they see a small cat, and these cats are fast, right? Leopards are fast. These cats are fast, so I think when you just get a sneak peek of them moving around, and you probably would mistaken it very, very easily because of the patterns. It's not similar, but it's kind of similar. Let's say it's kind of similar. So then they go after that just in fear. Also, it's I think one of those things, right? It's like when one person says, "Oh, leopard, leopard," then everybody comes rushing. The other people would not check if it is a leopard or not. They would just come to like kill it. That, oh, it could be a threat, kind of thing. So that is where the problem arises, I think, where even though some locals would know, but because of all the alarming nature of how people might make it like, so that kind of, I think, might have backfired.
Yeah, no, I think education in that area is very important there as well. Um, so I have a friend who has been working in fishing cat conservation, and I'm just sharing. I didn't find a very good image online, so I'm just sharing the image I took when we went to see the fishing cat. Um, this 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 is the habitat of a fishing cat. Wants to live in marshy, waterlogged areas. They have webbed feet, so they are very adept at traveling in the marshy, waterlogged areas. They're very good at catching fish. If you ever see a fishing cat um, fishing, I think I might have some videos of that as well. I'll try to share. But if you have ever seen any videos of a fishing cat fishing, it's a beautiful sight. And I have, like I was saying, like one of my friends have been um, doing fishing cat conservation and research in West Bengal for a really long time now. Tiasa is her name, and she has been going into these villages and basically educating villagers to make sure that um, exactly what Meghna was mentioning, that they know the difference between a fishing cat and uh, you know
But in for
leopard.
all, I mean, but in all fairness, the spotting is kind of similar. So it's hard when it's dark for people to not mistake them. So there have to be other ways of maybe identifying them other than the spots, so that people can identify. But at the same time, I think it would be great to actually have your friend over also on the show, so she
Mm.
can explain the process of how she educates these everyone, and how the conservation is working in Indian rural areas. So that would be a great, great insight if she could also come on the show. But also, I feel like with something like this, I do not know how many people actually know. Obviously, the rural areas would know. But did you guys even know that there was a fishing cat? And it's actually
Mm.
called a fishing cat because it literally fishes. Like it
Mm.
goes and catches fish and eats them. Like, so as opposed to, let's say, all the diagrams and all the memes and all the cartoons that have been made about how cats love fish, this one actually goes and gets the fish.
I think this is the image that people have when they say, cats loving fish. And I just found the video, so I'll just play it on the screen. This is like a fishing cat waiting near the water to catch. There it goes. See how swift it was in catching that fish. That's how fishing cats are. When they are hunting at night, they love fish. Very again, like all cats, they're not very fond of water. They're very oily skin, so that sort of repels water. This water that slides off them, and so on and so forth. But yeah, and they are very, very adept, and they have evolved to catch fish. Yeah, very, 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 very cool species.
I feel like all those birds and all these animals that have those waxy kind of fur, where the
Mm,
water just rolls down, it's actually quite amazing that they have that quality. I mean, when you imagine, you're like, oh wow, that something can actually roll off. That's just crazy that that can
yeah,
just happen. That's quite cool how nature is built and how it's inbuilt for every species. Like every species is made according to where and what it has to do. That's just
yeah,
mind blowing.
true.
Like every day when I think about, oh wow, how does this exist and this coexist with this, and how does this animal know how to do this? Always mind blown.
Always, always. Very adept at fishing, very, fine tuned their behaviors to fishing. The other problem that fishing cats always have is because the human habitat and human settlements are moving inwards and inwards towards the forest, clearing forest areas and moving inwards. Wetlands where these fishing cats survive are vanishing from across India at an alarming pace. The other problem facing these cats is that inbreeding or interbreeding with crossbreeding with domestic cats, because they are very similar looking, they are very similar sizes. There can be a lot of mistake on these animals' parts to breed with feral cats and produce hybrids, which is again a big problem facing these cats as well. Um,
True.
because
Yeah,
yeah.
and I think this is where it gets tricky, because in the name of development, we kind of keep in deforesting or keep expanding our spaces. So the cities are getting bigger, and then there used to be some tier one cities. Now there are more tier one cities, and the
Hmm.
tier two cities are getting bigger. So everyone wants obviously more things, more convenience. So things just keep spreading, and they're spreading more and more into these kind of areas, and a lot of wetland areas are usually not protected. So this is where it gets tricky, because these kind of areas, when they're not protected, you can expand into these areas. And in fact, a lot of cities um, have been built on wetlands, so they have kind of like covered the wetlands with what would you say, just soil and other things, and they built a whole city on it. So when it rains, and
Mm.
those are supposed to be the low-lying areas, they actually get flooded, because those were supposed to be areas that catch water, and they don't. So this is where it gets tricky because of the protection status.
Yeah, yeah. I think this is one of those things that, not very apparent to people that are living in cities, but very much a problem. And I think if the villagers, you know, um with or without their mistake, with or without their misidentification, if the villagers thought it was a leopard, I can kind of understand why they would want to take such swift action, right? So it's not only putting the fishing cats into danger, but these villagers also are living in constant fear and because leopards can cause a lot of harm and damage um, to the village folk. So
But
yeah,
I mean, a leopard. If this is as big as a domestic cat, then it's going to be a leopard cub, right? Like, why would they want to? Why would they want to beat a leopard cub? The cub is not going to cause any kind of damage.
yeah. I know. I think that's a good point, and the only thing I would say is that we have grown so um,
Or it might be some kind
what's the
of
word?
trauma. Like it might be trauma from some other leopard that's kind of roamed earlier and maybe attacked someone. So now, even if they see a cub, they're actually going after the cub.
Yeah, that could be a very very possible thing as well. Um,
Also to the viewers, I mean, this was something that I did not know, and we were talking about this just before the episode, and oops, told me. So hybrids can't reproduce. Mostly, most
oh,
hybrids can't reproduce. This was something I had zero idea of. So when I thought about mules, like when donkeys and horses mate and they have mules, I always assumed it was a new species and mules mated with mules and had more mules. I had zero idea that they could not reproduce, and donkeys and horses have to be mated again and again to produce mules. Like that just broke my heart because I just thought that it was a new species. Maybe somewhere sometime some donkeys and horses mated and then they made mules and then there are all these mules now. Wow, like for me I was like, man, like you know donkeys are so special, and the kind of things that we always torture them to. um
mm,
and so in this case, also what he was talking about, the domestic cat thing, it's actually worse because like there are lesser and lesser uh, fishing cats that
fishing
would be
cats.
present, yeah, and there would be
That's the
lesser and lesser
problem.
reproduction, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think new species don't generally get created that way. It's usually land barrier or separated population that forms into a new species. There can be some exchange of genetics as well, but of course it takes a long time for it to become a new species and to start healthily reproducing again. Um,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
but I think what did happen was that we went through and we searched if ligers could have babies, and apparently the male ligers are not very fertile, but female ligers can be. And if female ligers mated with a lion and had a baby, it would be called a liger. And if it mated with a tiger and had a baby, it would be called a liger. No, liger and liger. They may not have the best genes and may not survive the most, but yeah, that was quite amusing, I would say.
Yeah, we had a good laugh. Yeah. Um, so this is facing the fishing cats as well, this problem. So I think education is very important because for this specific scenario, not mistaking a fishing cat for, the cat might give you some scratches. That's all. If threatened um, for its life, but that's all it will do. You know, nothing more than that. Nothing more than that. And it's
Yeah, and
yeah,
I
it's
think I
trivial
think
to think of it as a
true.
leopard cub and beat it or trying to beat it to death, which is like seems extreme.
Yeah, but we're not in their shoes, so there's no way to know the kind of problems they face. I It's always easier sitting, let's say, in a city environment and be like, oh, you should not have done that, but we do not know the kind of challenges they probably face. But at the same time, I think the education part that you're saying, that definitely plays a big role into knowing that what happens. And I think the kind of coexistence that existed even 50 years back, that kind of tolerance is also kind of waning. People don't have that kind of tolerance for coexistence anymore. Now people only want like only humans, and get everything else out from there. There was more coexistence earlier.
Yeah, I think, and that is a function, wouldn't you say, of this globalization, as you know, it has its benefits, but people being exposed to everything around under the sun, and everyone wanting basically everything. If they have it, why can't we have it? um, which is often the mindset that we will apply to things we do as well. Someone bought a new car, we want a new car. Someone bought a new house, we want a new house. um, so on and so forth.
True, always. That's always there. To want more things and also I think the more exposure you have, the more detachment you have with nature.
Mm,
So we've spoken about this even in our own podcast. I think there was one podcast where we spoke about how much detachment we have to nature, and technology and exposure plays a big part in it. It might make you more aware of nature, but it also takes you away from nature.
true, true. Very rightly said. Cool. Should we move on to the next one, Meghna?
Yes, we should do that. Hopefully, we can get the researcher, and if not the researcher, we have better updates to find out what's happening with the fishing cats in
True,
India's rural landscapes.
true, true.
Okay, heading over to the next topic. We're going to be talking about 1 minute. And okay, 1 minute. My yeah, one second. Yeah, okay, so this is about um, it's called mad fishing, the
Mm,
supersized fleet of squid catchers plundering the high seas. A massive, predominantly Chinese distant water fishing fleet is annually exploiting the squid-rich waters of Mile 201, a largely unregulated area of the South Atlantic just outside Argentina's exclusive economic zone. Monitored by the Argentinian Coast Guard, the fleet, visible from space, operates
wow.
without internationally agreed catch limits, raising concerns about ecosystem destabilization. The Environmental Justice Foundation identifies this as one of the world's largest unregulated squid fisheries, warning the intense unchecked fishing pressures disregarding the unchecked fishing pressure disregards the squid's brief 1 year life cycle. This mad fishing poses a serious environmental problem as the fleet pillages marine life with minimal oversight, creating a regulatory vacuum ripe for exploitation. And our discussion question also is that how do we balance economic interests with protecting vulnerable marine ecosystems in ungoverned waters?
Mm, really tricky one though. And again, we as you know, eat not eaters of squid can ask the question that why eat squid, but that question wouldn't obviously fly with people who like and consume squid in regular intervals. It's the same as fishing for tuna or fishing for salmon or you know other fish. Now the added problem here also is that squids have a very brief lifespan. Um, so
Yeah, I think the
this is a very
problem
tricky
here
one.
mainly is problem mainly here is that this is an area that unregulated, so there needs to be some
Mm,
kind of regulation measure there.
true.
So if anybody has ever followed Sea Shepherd, they've actually gone around finding and flagging ships that are not supposed to be there where they are, so all these encroaching unregulated ships, and they made sure that they have been locked down, like in the sense that there were patrolling services that came, locked down those boats, took those boats off the area. And it's not just Chinese, like
No,
a lot of, I think.
but if it's unregulated waters, then whose authority will work there?
So I obviously there are no international catch limits and all, but if they do not have a license, I think there is some way to check on their license and seize a port based on the fishing licenses that they have. There cannot be a way of regulating. Like there needs to be a way that you can regulate the zone, but there's also a way that you can check on the ports that are coming there. So some kind of the
But
licenses that the ports
who
have.
will do that if it's not in anyone's territory? Like if it's in India has the ocean. Part of the ocean belongs to India, similar to all countries. if it's not in India's territory, who will make that regulation? Or
I
who will
think
check, go and check?
in
Who has the authority? That is my question. I don't think
um
anyone, because international waters is open for all, free for all, basically.
But there might be like some, let's say, like how this Environmental Justice Foundation or some other third party operators, like something that is unbiased towards any one nation. They might have it, like just like how UN can step in, or there are other bodies. So there might be some similar body for the oceans as well. I'm assuming that there's a body that
I
actually
don't think
does.
there is, but I have never heard of it, but yeah, but the only good long term solution would be regulating, or if there isn't a body that exists, um, just creating
Yeah,
a body.
I think obviously for Argentina, they would not be able to step in because it is not part of
No
their area. But if there was a
jurisdiction. Yeah,
way, yeah, but if there was a way for Argentina to actually regulate this waters, I actually do not even know how regulation of water works. Like, where do you set, your border? Like,
no,
there,
no.
I
You
think
have a
some.
border around your country, around your coastline. You have a
No,
border, and beyond that, it's just international waters.
no,
So
no, no,
there's
no.
no
No,
law there.
so for India it's 8 nautical miles if I remember. So till 8 nautical miles away from the border, it is still India. So there are
Hmm.
some nautical miles. Yes, every
Oh
country has.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
every country has some nautical miles. That is their ocean. So I do not know how they came up with that in the first place. So I do not know how they measured how much nautical miles is theirs,
Ah, okay,
or
okay.
yeah. And then how do they monitor that area? So there might be actually fleets, or they might be patrolling, or there might be
Yeah, coast
some,
guards, coast
yes,
guards.
of course. But how do you expand on that? That is something that I do not know. Like, let's say that.
That's yeah, that's a very tricky one because it's not a locally political issue, it's a global political issue. Because if you're expanding your territory, that doesn't only mean that you are expanding within your country, but you're expanding from the world supply of, you know, land and water. So the world will have a problem with it. Oh, why are you expanding your territory? What are you trying to do? Because it
No,
obviously has military and other sorts of consequences as well, if you expand your territory.
but tell
So
me
everyone will
this.
question that.
True, but tell me this: how did we even come up with those kind of borders in the first place? Like, let's say 8 nautical miles, 10 nautical miles, whatever
It
it
was a
was.
political tug of war. It was a political tug of war, and that's how we came up with this. How do we
Okay,
come up with borders, like land borders? Similar, you know.
but probably easier to draw land borders as opposed to water borders.
Why? I mean, in a Cartesian representation of a map, it's a flat map, so you can draw anything you want. It's very easy.
No, no, but I mean, I'm saying when you have a land border, then you have like checkposts, or you have like barricades, or you have something.
Yeah, no,
But
I
in the
mean,
water, you
yeah.
don't have those kind of ways to actually demarcate. Like, land actually has demarcations, but water doesn't
Hmm.
have demarcations.
You
Uh,
just do it by GPS coordinates.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you just, but that is my question. Like, if it's just GPS coordinates, why cannot we try to keep expanding? Like, now, if this issue was brought into,
No, but
let's
the
say,
issue there, Meghna, is that if we try to expand, it won't be like if, for example, India tries to expand beyond the 8 nautical miles, again, maybe not as confirmed, but beyond the 8 nautical miles, then all the neighboring countries, including the US, might come in and say, why are you trying to expand? Because
oh,
it is the same as in politics, in the books, it is the same as you trying to encroach into another country or trying to, you know, expand your land area. It's the same.
so I'm just going to show you. So this is one of the squid jiggling with vessel, as they call it, the squid jiggling vessel. You
That's a
can see
large
the size.
operation.
Yeah, you can see the size, and this is one boat or one ship, as you can say.
Mm,
But also, I would like to show you this image. So this is a satellite image, and these are all the ships that are there. So it's
mm,
almost looks like a little city or a little town of its own the amount of light that you can see here, let's say somewhere here in Argentina, the amount of light, and just
Wow.
this one area. And that is
Mm.
all the fleet that's there. That's mad fishing. That is why it's mad fishing, because there are so many ships out there that you can actually, it seems like a city that's floating there. So that is the concerning part, that one, they're probably like big sea ships that can catch crazily, and secondly, there's no regulation, and thirdly, because there's no regulation, there's just like crazy amount, like it's mind boggling that there can be so much that happens
Yeah,
and so much that goes unnoticed, in the sense that how can there be no uproar for this, no furor for this, no way to try to regulate this area.
true. This article gives a quote from one of the patrol officers, which says, "Outside our exclusive economic zone, we cannot do anything. We cannot board them. We cannot survey nor inspect," says an officer. So that's exactly the problem. And the vessels, the owners of the vessels probably know that. The only way they could probably regulate it is if they stop at a port. But as the article goes on to say, these are like mini cities, so very self-sufficient. So they might start from a port in China and just fish and then return back to that port through international waters, and only entering Chinese waters and no other waters. So if it entered any other waters, then maybe those country, if they were motivated enough, could stop and search and get rid of all the illegal material and things like that. But I do believe they would be very cunning about it and very strategic about it as well.
Yeah, and I think the thing here especially is that they're saying, obviously there are two problems here. One, if we've spoken about this so many times, that there's a hierarchy everywhere in the ocean, on land, but here
Mm,
whales, dolphins, seals, seabirds, and a lot of other fish such as tuna depend on the
mm,
squid. So if the squid is
mm.
out, this would be a big ecological disruption, because that food is away, or that food is
Yeah.
does not exist. But apart from that, what they're also saying is that these vessels, because there is no checking, these vessels are also going for cruelty towards marine wildlife in the area. So there have been reports that there's deliberate capture and killing of the seals somewhere in their hundreds, or more than
Wow.
40% of Chinese squid vessels and a fifth of the Taiwanese vessels have been doing this. So there are actually seal teeth and different body parts that have been found. And seals and penguins have been trapped on decks, or seals have been hanged on hooks. So it's not just the squid that they're going after, they're going after everything and anything that they can get their hands on, which is actually very, very disturbing to know. And but also the I think the biggest disturbing factors, it says activity on mile 201 has surged over recent years, with total fishing hours increasing by 65% between 2019 and 2024. This is five
Mm.
years. 5 years, there's been a 65% increase in the fishing, a jump driven almost entirely by the Chinese fleet, which increased its activities by 85% in the same period. So I think
Wow.
this is where the problem is, and I don't want to call China out specifically, because there are other countries that have also done a lot of illegal
Similar
fishing and
things.
illegal, yeah. But in this case, I think this is fueled by a lot of food choices,
Mm.
and food choices are something that can be switched, and Southeast Asia is the one part of the world where food choices are still questionable, in the sense that when there's so much of climate change and global warming, there's change happening everywhere else there's like a shift, but we do not see that shift in Southeast Asia. That shift is still missing. There's still a lot of dependence on exotic creatures, apart from the regular creatures that you would eat.
Yeah. Um. Again, I don't know, attack, because food is something part of people's identities and a community's identities, etc. I don't know if targeting that would bring any good, but yeah, you're quite right in that those food choices have remained quite the same. Whether it changes or whether it can change remains to be seen. But that does mean things like this keep happening.
Yeah, but I think it's not just food choices. I think it's also the way that it's become more available. Like, they used to say that, let's say 20 years back, meat was expensive, so people would have it once or twice on their table in a week because of how expensive it was. But now it's more affordable. Our purchasing power has grown, so people have meat more often, probably every day.
Mm,
So even the squid or its demand for these kind of exotic food, this might have also grown because of purchasing power, the increase in purchasing power. So maybe 20 years back, you used to think about going to a restaurant. Now everybody is just like, yeah, let's go out today, let's order it tomorrow. Why don't
mm,
we try that new place day after? So that demand has also grown. So we have to question people's um, demand. Even if not food
mm,
choices, the demand has to be questioned, and there has to be some way of regulating this kind of space, because Argentina has a like an exclusive economic zone, and that economic zone extends up to 200 nautical miles. So this is beyond the 200 nautical miles from their coast. So
mm,
imagine how much in the middle of the sea it is. Like 200 nautical miles is covered, and then beyond, just beyond that, these fleets come because they know that nobody can touch them, nobody can do anything, so they can just go on with their reckless rampage.
mm. Yeah. I think a governing body, um, again, comes with its own. It's very tricky. Like if you try to create a governing body for this, then you go into all sorts of different problems with like over vigilance, and some countries feeling like they are being targeted through these new governing bodies and things like that. So there's a lot of political tug of war that would need to go in for this kind of a thing to happen. But you know the the price is always paid by the environment and the wildlife.
True. The thing is that if China truly cared, then they could actually do something about it. They could call out.
That would be the easiest, right?
Yeah,
That would
yeah,
be the
yeah.
easiest thing.
So they are saying that if China says that these kind of imports or this kind of illegal or abusive fishing practices have to be banned, or there's like a global transparency about seeing where your produce is coming from. Maybe if that is regulated, things can happen, but this has to come from China or Taiwan or wherever these fleets are going from, wherever these fleets are going for this plunging. So this cannot be something that other countries can do unless and until some kind of regulation measures can increase. But till then, China should do something about it.
We really hope that um, China, you know, takes heed of this and um, controls this at least. Now, right now, it's very uncontrolled and very, yeah, rampant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we would try, maybe we can try to get one of the representatives from the Environmental Justice Foundation to talk to us and tell us how bad it is and what actually can be done. um,
Hmm.
and
What are the
obviously again,
realistic solutions? Yeah.
yeah, so we'll try our best to get them on board and see. But this is again one of those doom and gloom scenarios where
Hmm.
there's no limit to human greed. uh,
Hmm.
yeah, and the ultimate
Indeed.
price, as
Yeah.
Ope said, yeah, the ultimate price is always paid by the environment. The ultimate price.
True. True. Cool.
Okay, do you want to like cover a new species or something?
Yeah. Before that, I wanted to do a quick segment. Just wanted to mention this, and we can do this. Do this. Coverage more in detail, maybe in the next episode as well. But I just wanted to mention this. Um, Madhav Gadgil, advocate of democratic conservation, has passed away in 83. Now, the reason I wanted to mention this is he and his views on conservation and approach to conservation has shaped a lot of my personal views on things as well. So one of the things he argued for that, he argued that conservation was not a technical problem, but it was a political one, centered on who decides how land and resources are used, and on what evidence. So that is something, everyone who watches this show, and listens to this show, and all of my friends will know as well. I'm very much of that idea that it is a political problem rather than a technical one. He was a scientist by training, and he involved himself largely in field work. He rejected this top down, you know mode of conservation where there's few people telling how it should be done. He was more in for the grassroots level of conservation that we talk about always. Um, going into villages and talking to people, or doing these kinds of science communication outreaches to get a different narrative out there. He worked mostly in the Western Ghats, safeguarding that portion of India, and he, till the end of his life, he remained a very sharp critic of development that ignored law, ecology, and consent, insisting that democracy, not convenience, should guide environmental decisions. So, um, very very sad for the conservation community, but always will be remembered for the work he has done. This is Madhav Gadgil, a great visionary, great thinker, and a great icon in the field of conservation and environment. Cool. I just wanted to mention that, um, since this happened this week, and yeah, I was deeply affected by it, so I thought I would share it with our audience. Um, cool. You can probably do a new
Yeah,
species.
yeah. I will cover one of the new species. Um, let's see, which one should we cover? I think we'll go with a new porcupine discovery
Mm,
expands Colombia's wildlife frontiers dramatically. A new porcupine species, I don't know how to pronounce it, but I'll try. Um, Cuando Wasi. It's
mm.
Coentou. So it could be Suanduo, but it could also be Cuando. Wasi has been discovered in Colombia, marking the first such find in 126 years. This
Wow.
discovery underscores Colombia's remarkable biodiversity and the need for continued research within its Andean habitats. Porcupines are naturally elusive, residing in dense forests and treetops, making study difficult. Colombia is renowned for its biological diversity, but mammal discoveries are infrequent, especially within well known groups like porcupines. Swan, Siondu? Kondiovasi is a small, long tailed endemic mammal, and its identification as a type locality species is historically significant. The find has energized zoologists, ecologists, and conservationists, prompting discussions about strengthening national efforts to protect Colombia's natural heritage. So it's great that this discovery has happened, and it's amazing that people are so excited and pumped about it.
Yeah. I'm just sharing an image of the Quando Vossi. Very cute, short snout, um, go away.
Yeah, and
Um, yeah,
yeah, for
very.
anyone just listening to the audio podcast, there was a pop-up. That was what he meant by go away, not the animal itself. But yeah, but it's apparent why it's hard to spot. I mean, if when they're on treetops and they're not visible on land, it's not so easy to actually find them.
Yeah, very cute and very important rediscovery, I would say.
Yeah, and we are
Um,
excited for the Colombians.
we are excited. Yeah, and it's not every day that you get to see, people excited and pumped for a new species discovery, right?
Yep,
Which is
definitely.
great. Which is great.
Yeah.
Um, continuing on that, um, camera traps in China discover five first ever footage of Amur tigress with five cubs. Camera traps in northeast China and Leopard National Park have captured unprecedented footage of an Amur tigress with five cubs. The first one for China. The November 2005 recording shows the roughly 9-year-old tigress and her 6 to 8 month old offspring traversing a dirt road. The sighting is particularly significant as Amur tigers specifically typically have 1 to 4 cubs. The park, the world's largest tiger reserve, wow, has witnessed a growing tiger population with 35 cubs born in 2024, once nearing extinction with fewer than 30 remaining in the 1930s. Amur tiger numbers have now estimated as 70 to 80 in China, thanks to habitat protection and anti poaching measures. Globally, estimates range from 265 to 486. Um,
Very
Want to
wide
play the
range.
video as well?
Yeah.
Very cool video. Such beautiful footage as well. Um,
Yeah, and can you tell our viewers how are Bengal tigers different to Siberian tigers, different to Amur tigers? Tigers.
so Amur tigers are Siberian tigers. That's I think a different name that is used for Siberian tigers. And they are the largest species of cats. They are the largest species of tigers. Certainly, look at them. Look at the one, two, three, four. Where's the fifth one? But they're the largest species of tigers. Very huge males, very huge females as well, and they mostly thrive in very cold and very mountainous regions. So China, Siberia, Russia, and that's sort of their range that they travel within. Some reports say that there have been some sightings in northeast of India as well. Um, you know, some Amu tigers, and as we know, there's a fifth one. As we know, like tigers like traversing, even Bengal tigers like traversing a long range um, in search of territory or to protect their territories and things like that. So, um, yeah,
Yeah,
these tigers
there
could
are I
travel
think
long distances.
yeah, and I think there are
So it
reports
makes
of
sense sightings in India.
yeah, and I think there are reports of Bengal tigers and Siberian tigers mating, and there are
Hmm.
some areas which are on the border fringes uh, of say India, Nepal, and other places where you can actually see these tigers that do not look completely like a Bengal tiger or completely like a
Hmm.
Siberian tiger. They have bigger
Hmm.
heads and smaller
More
bodies.
mane, um,
Yeah,
size
exactly.
wise bigger as well, especially in places like Dodwa National Park and
Yeah.
um,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's actually heartening or I think happy to hear something good from China instead of all
Hmm.
the negative news that you always hear because a lot of positive news towards the environment or species usually doesn't come from China. I'm sorry, China,
Hmm.
but you and Japan, that is where most
I
things are
mean,
negative.
saving the great pandas is one of the greatest conservation stories of our times. So
True,
it has,
true.
like, China has been focused on that as well.
I was
Um,
going to say except the panda. I was literally going to say except the panda,
yeah.
but the panda is just as useless as a kakapo. So yeah, like oh yeah, it's a different
Yeah.
story, and I think it's
Hmm.
most one of those heritage symbols. So it doesn't really count for me under like conservation success stories because those are really controlled environments as opposed to something like this where you took active efforts and anti-poaching and you made sure that their numbers could increase.
Mm, mm. Especially since, traditional medicine in China calls for a lot of parts from the tiger.
Yeah, I
You
think
know,
the tiger claw and everything. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, such beautiful footage to see as well. I'm just wanting to rewatch this footage as much as possible. But yeah, it is such beautiful footage. Um, Beautiful to see all the different, you know, 5 tiger cubs. Very
Yeah,
slim chance every one of them survives into adulthood. But yeah, we'll wish them all the best anyway.
yeah, and I mean, I can see how much Oops loves it. This is the third or fourth time he's playing it. But I think as long as they're with their mom, they have a really good chance, because I think for the first 2 years they stay with their mom, and then after that,
Yeah.
when they separated, that's when they have to really struggle and survive on their own.
Mm,
But for now, they they will enjoy really good family time.
yeah. Let's hope. Let's hope that. But really cool discovery. And not exactly discovery, but like yeah, really cool effort from the Chinese government and the conservation agencies there. So hats off there. And, credit where credit is due.
True, true. Okay, let's get to the next topic. Now, obviously, this is, we're getting more and more efficient, so we have more topics to
Hmm.
cover. And the good part is we always have a lot of topics, like a backup topics that we keep
Yeah.
whenever, things get. But I think, what would I want to cover?
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, so after Cyclone Senyar, Indonesia probes whether development amplified the scale of disaster. Cyclone Senyar caused devastating floods and landslides in northern Sumatra in late 2025, resulting in over 1,178 deaths and displacing a million people. However, scientists attribute the disaster scale to decades of deforestation and landscape changes, weakening the natural watershed buffers. The Patang Toru landscape, habitat of the critically endangered Tapanuli orangutan, is now a focal point. In response, the Indonesian government ordered 8 mining, energy, and plantation companies to suspend operations for comprehensive environmental audits, a rare move testing the enforcement of environmental regulations. Experts emphasize that while the cyclone initiated the crisis, upstream environmental degradation significantly amplified its impact, highlighting the need for stronger land management practices. And our discussion question is also that can Indonesia's environmental audits balance economic development with environmental protection to prevent future disasters like Senyar? Cyclones are devastating, but it's great that there's some kind of acknowledgement as to how the impact is amplified. In this case, it is the deforestation. In another case, it is obviously it's always deforestation and landscape changes. Like how I said in the fishing cat story, when you cover a wetland and actually build a city or anything on it, when there's a lot of rainfall, then it leads to flooding just because of this, because the landscape that had to be there, that has been changed. And anyone who knows about the mountainous regions, if you're deforesting them, you're making it weaker and weaker, and you're making it easier for more landslides to happen.
True, true. There are some really captivating aerial satellite imagery on the article as well. So June 2021 to June 2023, June 2024, and October 2025. So you can see how it progresses. Like 21 to 23 was big, and then 23 to 24 again, double almost, and 24 to 25 again, a lot more expansion there in terms of um, how much deforestation was done. Now people might say, looking at this, that oh, I see mostly green still. How does this matter? The thing we don't uh, realize is that the amount of pillaging, that's the word that comes to mind, the amount of pillaging that goes into you know spreading and deforesting this area, and this amount of area is just so much more than cutting down just it voids entire ecosystems, and it voids entire ecologies in a devastating way. So it's not just cutting down trees, it's just destroying a whole ecosystem. And that amount of trees, the amount of value it adds towards, carbon trapping or contributing towards the environment, even one tree is devastating, let alone these huge swaths of land covering the forest.
Yeah, and I think people also don't realize, like, let's say that you see green in between, um, but the entire network, that's a big
Mm,
web network. I mean, it was entirely green with like one road or one area, and then it just kept expanding like branches. Like,
yeah.
you could see that the branches kept expanding, kept expanding, kept expanding. And now the government is doing these environmental audits. Finally, when so many people have lost their lives, like, was it worth so many people losing their lives and so many people not having their homes to actually come to this conclusion that, yeah, maybe we need to stop a few things? That's not worth it, right? Like, you have to take these measures earlier than later. But as humans, I think we've discussed this before as well. Till it really doesn't come onto us, till it doesn't cause deaths, till it doesn't really hit us in the face, we don't want to do anything about it.
True. And in this, nobody's thinking of the Tapanuli orangutans, because these forest networks would have been their highways to travel and be in that area and things like that. So deforestation obviously means that their habitat is shrinking, 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 shrinking as well. So um, it's interesting. It's interesting. They are very close to us in terms of, how they behave and how they evolved. Great one of the great apes, one of the subspecies of the great apes, and yeah, it's just devastating to um, look at their plight as well. Um,
True. So this is the
Throughout all this.
aftermath. This is the picture of the
Mm,
aftermath of the
wow.
cyclone. So you can see the devastation. And any cyclone, any floods, any tsunami that happens, the devastation pictures are always heartbreaking to see, because
Mm,
it kind of wipes out entire villages, entire cities in its wake. And most of it is actually human induced. So that is the sad part about such kind of effects. So this is
yeah.
the amount, like, the landslide that has happened. So you can see, because of the deforestation, how brittle or how weak the sand has become. So it's easier and easier. So once, one area there's been a landscape, it makes it harder for the adjoining trees just at that line to stay, and there would be more and more
Mm,
frequent landscapes. So until and unless that landscape area is fixed, like the sorry landslides, unless and unless that area is fixed, it will keep increasing. Like, whenever there will be more monsoons or there will be any other trigger, then there will be more landslides in this area.
yeah, but yeah, it's just a never-ending cycle, right? Once you get into it, then the dominoes start falling, and it'll keep on falling if the intervention is not made. Um, I
This
think
is
the,
Yeah.
ah,
Um, yeah, this is
devastating.
yeah, this is also one of the photos after a flash flood. You can see the locals sitting. They have inspect the clothing. They're inspecting their clothing and other things that they could salvage after
Mm,
the flash flood. So you can see all the, you can see the water body. You can see all the debris behind
mm,
that has been brought together, and you can see all these trees, everything that's come with the flood. So everything in its
mm,
wake that the flood could bring along. So that's actually quite really sad. And this is obviously the map or the area and the thing that Oops had shown earlier, how it had
mm,
expanded. So this was
mm,
the area that they showed expansion, and this is obviously what Oops had shown earlier. So yeah,
mm,
this is really really sad. And this is the entire area, like on 27th October 2025. Yeah, this is
yeah.
the entire area. And on 1st December, you can see they've actually pointed out where the landslides came, all these areas, and this additional clearing added to this October area. So there was already so much deforestation, and they added to it, even though there were landslides, active landslides happening. um, yeah,
Mm,
I mean, the literally these landslides happened when this area was being cleared. So yeah, that's actually really sad to know that there can be so much clearing. This is one of the logging pictures. Um,
Mm.
yeah, it's a sad picture that we kind of uh, we cannot stop the cyclones, we cannot stop hurricanes, but what we can do is make sure that their impact or their damage is not as great. We can minimize that damage, and that is in our hands.
Yeah, I believe so. I definitely believe that. And the question that you asked, can Indonesia's environmental audits balance the economic? I think it kind of has to. That there's no other choice um, of them not balancing those two things, because obviously environmental protection, sorry, the economic development is important, and we cannot stop Indonesia from wanting that. But at the same time, these measures should be in place, and I think they have made a start on it by decommissioning all those mining operations, etc. So I think that enforcement should only grow stronger by the day.
Yeah, and Oops had spoken about the Tapanuli orangutan, and this is the orangutan. So it's in the
Mm,
Batang Toru forest. This is an image from 2022, and that's one of the orangutans. And as we already know, orangutans in Indonesia um, already face a lot of problems, not just the Tapanuli, but the Sumatran and the other orangutans. All of them are facing a lot of climate changes and landscape use changes, especially with palm oil plantations. So it's heartbreaking to know that we might be the last generation to actually see these kind of species. We really do not know what's going to happen in the future with these species.
yeah, really sad to think about that. Um, cool.
Yeah,
This,
yeah. We're just hoping that because the Indonesian government has taken so much effort that they actually go in the right direction, reforest
mm,
this area, to not have a lot of deforestation campaigns still going through until the audit has finished. Make sure that everything is in place so that another cyclone doesn't affect them so much.
yeah. On a different note, this is a report from The Guardian. A place of darkness and light, the uninhabited Japanese island that became a rabbit paradise. Okunoshima, a Japanese island now famed for its friendly rabbit population, harbors a dark past. From 1929 to the end of World War II, it secretly hosted a facility producing poisonous gas, mustard gas, tear gas, and cyanide for the Imperial Army, omitted from maps due to the operation's secrecy. Today, roughly 400 to 500 rabbits roam freely, attracting thousands, um, attracting tourists and relying on them and volunteers for food, as their natural diet is scarce. The island, now a popular destination, faces uncertainty regarding rabbits' future due to their dependence on human support. Despite its beauty, Okunoshima's history serves as a stark reminder of its wartime role, contrasting sharply with its current idyllic image. Um, Good place for rabbits. Because I don't think humans would be able to live there, and there are certain number of images, very fun touristy images. You know, people posing as rabbits. I can only imagine that's what they're doing. But very cute. Very popular destination. I believe for kids. You know, kids have this affinity towards bunnies and fluffy things and rabbits and that kind of stuff. So I can imagine this being a very favorite destination for the kids as well. Yeah.
Were there images of the bunnies? Did you see the rabbits?
Um no, actually. Like, this article is being cut for some reason um in my browser.
Let me
Uh
check if it's showing up in my browser.
um
Yeah, yeah, it's showing up in my browser. Let me
that's
just
cool.
share it. Yeah. So I think one of the things that one of the things that's great about this story is that place that had maybe such horrific memories, or a place that held a lot of pain, or a lot of what would you say, like war related things. Now it's a place that's beautiful, that's just full of these kind of very, very, very friendly rabbits. Like, I mean, where do you see like rabbits like literally jumping on people like in the on an island?
Mm.
So this is great. The only sad part about this entire thing though is that they're dependent on humans. So if
Mm.
someday the humans decide not to go there, or there are not enough volunteers, or there's not enough funding, then it might decimate their population because there is no natural food source for them.
Mm. Mm. It's scarce. Not maybe not no food source, but yeah, maybe scarce. And also it I think you were talking about this when we were scripting as well, that it just shows how resilient nature can be, you know,
True,
if
true.
left to its own devices.
Yeah, that I think is a really beautiful part, because these rabbits are thriving now. And these are all the pictures, like the former poison gas storage facilities.
Mm.
They still exist on that island, so you can actually see all of this as well if you ever go to visit that island. But it's great that now you see all these rabbits. That's a beautiful photo of the island, and all the rabbits just freely roaming around and having a great time.
Mm. There's a video as well. Wow,
Yeah, with everyone just feeding the rabbits.
cute.
Oh, oh wow, and they're so gentle. It's just a rabbit island.
Yeah. I mean, rabbits are generally very gentle as well as pets and things like that. But they're very shy generally of humans. But these guys, I figured out, without humans, they can't um, basically can't live. So
I think
yeah.
also they just kind of grown up probably around humans, and they're used to the humans feeding them. So once you're used to them, they're
Mm.
probably not that shy and they're not that scared. It's only when you're not used to them.
Yeah, yeah. Um, very cool. Very cool. Um,
But they do say that in the story that there could be a genetic link between the rabbits experimented on in the wartime and those that roam Okunoshima today. Um, so yeah, like they could actually be some of the lab rabbits that survived and have grown up here.
mm, mm,
Yeah. So obviously, yeah, but the bigger part is that that rabbits did not reach there on their own. There were people who brought rabbits along, and they must have been left on multiple occasions. Um,
mm,
Possibly by people hoping to give unwanted pets a new home, and that is how the rabbits just kept growing there. And as you know, rabbits populate really easily, and now it's become an
mm.
island where people go and just hang out with these rabbits.
I was quite surprised to hear the numbers like 500 to 400. I would have thought that it would be much higher, but yeah.
I think what draws or what also what would you say? Mm, the population is dependent also on the food availability. So
Food.
if food
Yeah.
availability is scarce, reproduction is also scarce.
True.
Not scarce, but it's lesser, because you understand, or animals somehow understand very easily, that okay, there's no use of reproducing because there's only so much that we can
No,
thrive
no.
on.
I mean, it can be directly linked. There has been a lot of research regarding that. The food availability of food can be directly linked to reproduction appetite, mating appetite, and the females coming into heat, less often, fertility decreasing. All of that can be directly linked to food source
True,
and
but tell me
availability. So
this, tell me this, how does it not happen in humans, like poor people, or I mean the
because we
highest
have
pop.
we have like intentionally cut down that on that instinct. We have intentionally done that.
No, no, but I
It
mean,
used to happen to us as well.
that we had lesser kids if there was lesser food.
Yeah.
But we don't see that happening, like Africa, which has the highest population rate. Even now, the areas where the population rate is highest is where they have the biggest problems with famine, hunger, and other issues.
We, I think, through modernization have cut down with all the chemicals and antibiotics and things like that. We have cut down on those drives and instincts, natural instincts. Um,
But shouldn't we just
globe,
have the the brain power to know that if there's only so much food, like
yeah,
as opposed to
that's the
animals.
thing. That's the
But
thing.
for animals, I mean, it's not even them using their brain. Their automatic internal
Yeah,
system
there
changes
are
to tell them,
mechanisms. Yeah.
yeah, their mechanisms just come into play. Like here, the rabbits
Mm,
probably did not multiply because of the food scarcity. So there's some way that internally that has happened. But
yeah.
with humans, externally, you can see everything and you would still not make a choice based
Yeah,
on
I would
external.
much rather prefer humans with humans happening, things happening automatically as well. Then, even with all the stupidity to go around and all the ignorance to go around, it'll just be a force of nature. And that is happening. I mean, the birth rates and fertility rates are decreasing
But I
worldwide.
think, oops, it would also be very unfair because then the rich would have a lot of kids and the poor would have very little kids. It might be a way of eliminating the poor, but it would be a very cruel way of eliminating the poor.
Very
Because
true.
if it was something which was driven by resources, then yeah, then the rich would have hundreds of kids and the
Yeah.
poor would not. So yeah,
Yeah.
that
So
I
we are
don't know.
both glad and sad that that is not really a case with with humans,
I mean,
because it can
I just wish.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, we all wish that it was much simpler than that, but unfortunately it's not. And one thing can lead to another and, create a completely different thing. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I just wished humans who have lesser resources actually put that into perspective when they had children or they expanded their family. That would it
Hmm,
be prudent to have those children?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think we have time for one more topic, right?
Yeah, do you want to do the another? I think there's one more positive, really
Yeah.
positive one. The
No, I
Yeah.
thought I'll do the Falcons one.
Oh, okay. You
Yeah.
can do it.
Okay, so let me do the Falcons one. So this is how demand for elite falcons in the Middle East is driving illegal trade of British birds. Demand for elite falcons in the Middle East is fueling a surge in the illegal trade of British birds, with hundreds of UK nests raided in the last decade. Falcons are now symbols of wealth and prestige in the UAE, showcased at events like Abu Dhabi's International Hunting and Equestrian exhibition, where birds can sell for over 71,000 pounds. These
Wow.
prized birds receive specialized healthcare, Emirati passports, and travel in luxury, even riding in customized vehicles. While falconry has historical roots as a Bedouin tradition, it has transformed into a multi-million dollar international industry, driving a concerning rise in illegal bird trafficking from the UK to meet the growing appetite for these status symbols. Um, can the illegal then This is our discussion question, can the illegal trade and potential extinction of wild bird populations justify the prestige falcons receive? And this is something that I think when we were putting up this topic to think, okay, should
Hmm.
we add this topic or not, oops was like, I mean, they are having a better life, so wouldn't that be okay? I honestly do not know. I mean, you need these falcons in the wild because they have their place in the hierarchy. They're up
Hmm.
there, the scavenger birds. So if you are going to take out all the wild falcons, it might lead to an increase of, let's say, all the pests like rats and other things or smaller birds.
Pigeons.
Yeah, we do not know what kind of impact that would have. So the wild birds need to stay in the wild. But I would say that yes, these falcons live a better life than most humans, like the falcons
Yeah.
that these sheikhs have.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
all
might
the
have
all the
been.
people that we are just talking about in Africa, surviving drought and famine and those kinds of stuff. Definitely, they have like Emirati passports, traveling in like business class, maybe in Emirates Airlines, customized vehicles. Yeah, um,
Yeah, they live the good life. Like
they
there's
live
no
the good
question
life.
about it. There's no question about it that they're not living the good life. But at the same time, can their good life justify them not being um in the wild? No, that can never be justified. They need to survive in the wild, even if people are keeping them as great pets. I will just share a few images on my screen. Uh,
Mm.
So this is falcons on display in Abu Dhabi. So
Mm,
you can see all the falcons here, and just above this is the exhibition. So you can see the number of falcons in this room, and
mm.
you can see all the people interested in buying, all the Emirati
Eyes
people.
covered with this helmet.
Oh, do they have their eyes? Oh shit! Yeah, that. Oh my god. Okay, that is really
Obviously, if
sad.
their eyes are not covered, they would fly away.
No, they're already held by something. If you see, they're all like their feet are tied to some kind of hook there. If you see the hooks just under their feet,
Ah, right, 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 right.
yeah. So then they're
Yeah.
not gonna fly
The eyes
away.
covering it serves a different purpose, I think. They only want to see when they want to hunt or prey or something. Some training goes into that. Again,
Probably,
this is a Bedouin tradition. It would have been very good in those times, for hunting far off prey in the desert, or these falcons have great eyesight and they can hunt prey from, like, I think 3 miles or 4 miles above in the air and diving straight down. They're fastest animals on land, um, or I think the fastest animals ever, and incredible flying speeds, incredible diving speeds. Um, and yeah, it would have been very, I can imagine it being very useful to the Bedouins when and these were used, and in their nomadic tradition, the nomadic Bedouin tradition. And there are still nomadic Bedouins out there who might still use it for their intended purposes, these falcons. But the people who are interested in buying them, they're definitely not using them for um, you know, hunting or anything like that.
that is true. I mean, but oops, that's like just the traditional way that people used to use pigeons as well for sending messages. But we don't do that anymore. So it's actually quite sad that this tradition carried on. But it carried on to an extent that now they like everybody wants their own falcon. Like I think there was a time that falcons were restricted to some people. Now, if you have the money, you will have a falcon because it is the prestige that a falcon carries. So how
Mm,
you have like a really exotic dog breed, so then you're like, oh, this is the prestige that that human carries with that dog breed. So it's similar with a falcon. Like now it's like, oh, if you have a falcon, you're up there, like in the Emirati league. So I think that is where it gets tough for these birds. And this is one of the photos of a female wild peregrine falcon that is about to be
mm.
actually released in Scotland. So that is a wild image. Yeah, so this is one of the photos, but yeah, um they're now the falcons are actually being bred at facilities. So these are the younglings, and they're actually being bred because there's so much pressure. So you're
Mm.
emptying out the wild, and then now you're actually growing them in a tame environment.
Yeah, but you kind of have to, because if yeah, obviously most of the things that are being extinct in the wild, you have to have a stable population somewhere else for it to be able to survive. Um,
Yeah, and I think we did this story maybe a couple of weeks back or some episodes back where we actually spoke about how the peregrine falcons have returned to Britain, and it was a
mm,
conservation success story. But sadly, now that nest trading is happening by people who want to capture these falcons and sell them to the Middle East, it's actually getting harder because that conservation story is being written off by us only. Like, so we have made sure that they got back, and now we're making sure that they do not sustain or do not survive
mm.
in the wild.
Very true, but at the same time, um, very very sad as well. Um,
Yeah,
cool.
and I think that is where we end our show today. There were just so many topics, but one of the things obviously we would say is if you're out there, you're using AI, take into account the amount of energy it uses. Use it not for useless things, but use it only and only if you need it. Let's use AI for the bigger or the greater good, that the way it was designed, not for memes or not for loneliness. There are enough people in this world for that.
Mm.
um, And I mean, always as usual, just tell us your thoughts on AI and all the other things that we have. And if it is possible, I think we need to do something about the plundering that's happening in Nile 201. If there could be a petition, or if there could be some way that there's some kind of rage against it.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good one. And as always, do not forget, if you like our videos and the content that we put out, please do subscribe to this channel and follow us on all the different social media platforms. We're on all the major ones. It really helps with, you know getting this message out there and getting a different kind of perspective for your friends and family. Share it with someone who could really benefit from a different perspective in their long held beliefs. And if we can be the vessel to change some of those beliefs, or at least get them thinking, then that would be a great success for us. If you're listening to a recorded version of this podcast on your favorite podcasting platform, do consider leaving us a rating. We can only improve, and based on your feedback and such, and it also helps with all the reach. But other than that, that's it for today, and we'll see you next Sunday, same time, same channel. Have a good one, guys.
Bye bye.